This was possibly our last trip before welcoming our new baby, so we set out with a plan to enjoy some treats, have some fun, and embrace this special season of life. The big kids even got to go on some fun adventures with friends. It was full of snuggles, sunsets, and coffee. And we worked on a couple of projects to get the boat ready for a slightly longer period without us.
I'm feeling good. I woke up today with a smile on my face. Ain't gotta worry. Not a care in the world. My mind on heaven in a new kind of place. Surfing the clouds now. Gonna go up, woo, in a real feel chill mood. Gonna go up, woo, oh it's all because of you. Gonna go up, woo, in a real feel chill mood. Gonna go
The day started early, really early. At 4 a.m., we were awake and hit the road, heading south to Miami while most of the world was still asleep. We had an interview set up with a true legend in the field of aerodynamics, Dr. Za. It was one of those moments where preparation meets opportunity, and curiosity takes the wheel. But what came from that conversation deserves its own chapter, so we'll save that story for you in a future episode. Of course, in Miami, we made a necessary pit stop. Cuban coffee and guava pastries. The kids were on board immediately, and yes, they were delicious. Once everyone was fully caffeinated, we continued south to Key Largo. The kids now know the routine and immediately helped to get everything set up for the weekend. There were lots of giggles for sure. One of the main projects we had planned for was to restore the Moulin name on the stern of the vessel. A local friend had advised us to do so to help people recognize the change in ownership, and so that generally people wouldn't think it was derelict. First, we thoroughly documented it with photos, videos, and LiDAR scans. Then, began meticulously tracing over the historic lettering to the best of our ability. It was such a beautiful weekend for a campout. The temperature was perfect, the skies were clear, and the sunsets spectacular.
I woke up today with a smile on my face. Ain't gotta worry. Not a care in the world. My mind on heaven in a new kind of place.
Zion and I handled dinner for night one, and for some reason, simple meals always taste better after a long day of hard work.
In a real feel chill mood. Gonna go up. Woo. Oh, it's all because of you. Gonna go up.
First thing the next morning, the ocean greeted us with both her beauty and a familiar reminder of why we do the work we do. Orly spotted some ocean plastic floating by. She quickly mobilized by getting a net and grabber. It was a bit of a team effort, but she succeeded. Moments like this remind us that though the problem is real, so is the solution. It starts with just the decision to act.
And I feel good. I'm feeling good.
The next order of business was the routine bilge pump out. Our plan was to get the boat as dry as possible because we weren't sure when we would make it back down for another visit. So we thoroughly checked every space we could find that may have been holding water. We made a couple of discoveries within the bilge area as well. We found what might have been one of Jacques Cousteau's former dive weights, a handful of fishing weights, and we located the rudder tubes. All in all, she's now ready for an extended time by herself. And I'm sure she hasn't been this dry in ages. Our buddy and local guide Bobby took Zion on the ride of his life, ripping around the bay at nearly 70 miles an hour in Bobby's water missile.
I'm feeling
girls were not left out. They got to set out on a catamaran day trip aboard our friend DJ's boat, Sea Mistress, visiting some local wrecks and dive sites. Meanwhile, we loaded up the rest of the fam and took the dinghy to shore in search of the #1 burger in Florida. After one-pot dinners and oatmeal, these burgers were a godsend. With bellies full, we hit up the History of Diving Museum in nearby Isla Morada. There, we had an incredible journey through underwater exploration and inventions that have allowed us to spend time there. From early diving bells, vintage helmets and suits, to the evolution of modern scuba gear. Seeing this history up close deepened our appreciation for both the pioneers who explored the deep and the need to protect this precious world for future generations.
I'm feeling good.
Our final morning came, and before packing up, we decided to enjoy one last swim. This trip wasn't just an escape, it was a milestone, our last adventure before welcoming the new baby into the crew. As always, the end of one journey is just the beginning of another. If you enjoyed this episode, please like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on our next adventures. There's more to uncover ahead.
This is how you make me feel. All good, all great, sunshine all day. This is how you make me feel. And I feel good.